Hey there, welcome into the Unpaid Interns podcast. It is the last week of the Unpaid Interns podcast of the semester, and we have a great way to close out the semester by interviewing a couple seniors this week as part of our Senior Spotlight series. We did it last semester for graduating seniors, and we've got a whole host of seniors graduating from the IU Sports Media program this semester. So we're going to have two on today, two on Friday. And we'll kick it off with certainly two of the most impactful seniors in the IU Sports Media program, Tamar Sher and Jordan Gould. Guys, really appreciate you coming on today, and I'm excited to talk with you guys.
Thank you for having us. I mean, it's heartbreaking to believe we're graduating, right, Jordan?
Yeah, I know. Last dead week. It's never dead. I will say that. My dead week is a little more lively than finals week. I will say that, at least for me.
Oh, always.
I was walking through the Kelley School of Business the other day, and they were trying to rebrand it and call it Busy Week instead of Dead Week, which was an interesting way to do it. But anyways, guys, I do want to talk a little bit about your guys' experiences with IU, your guys' advice. But we'll start kind of with big picture. You guys have done a lot of stuff with IU Sports Media over the last 4 years. Obviously, it's been very different last year and a half. How are you guys just feeling, I think, overall about graduating and going out into the world?
It's weird. It's for me, especially, I grew up wanting to be a Hoosier. I knew that this is the place for me. And it's a surreal feeling just realizing that I've come to the end. I don't think I've really started to believe it yet. I don't think until it actually happens and I move on and into the real world that I'll actually realize this is my time to move on in life. But my experience, it's hard to sum it up in just a couple seconds worth of how impactful it's been on my life. I mean, it's completely defined who I want to be and what my 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan is going to be because of how much these people at the media school have really shaped and developed what I want to do, which is sports media. I knew that's what I wanted to get into, Griffin, but not until I really stepped foot on campus and I had that first conversation with Gould and Tamar did I really realize, oh, this is for sure the path for me. And I think that can ring true for many students in the sports media program. But for me especially, I just cannot express enough how much I have loved being at this school.
How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, Tamar, it's funny that you mentioned the Galen thing because I remember when I stepped foot on campus as well, I got a general tour of the campus, but then also of Franklin Hall. And when I finished my tour of Franklin Hall, the tour guide, was asking me what my interests were. I said, sports media, it's what I'd like to do. And they said, well, I can get you a individual meeting, one-on-one meeting with Galen. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, that'd be great. My parents were like, oh, wow, that's awesome. So later that day, we met in the Commons, and I'm talking with him. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Like, this is going to be great. And, almost 4 years later, or after 4 years, it's been wonderful. And the opportunities I remember how exciting the BTN Student U program sounded when I first got here. I'm like, wow, that's awesome to be able to broadcast Big Ten sports and on the production and the broadcast side. I mean, that's a great opportunity that you can't find everywhere. So I've loved that, and I've done everything, just about everything aside from IDS I've touched, and it's been awesome. So I feel like I can leave here saying that I've done just about everything, and it's been great.
It's funny because I also, when I came to tour IU, also got a one-on-one tour with Dr. Gould and Tamar. So I guess everyone that's the buy-in. That's the final,
recruiting pitch. It's the recruiting sell.
Absolutely. So he's pretty persuasive. I'll say that. You get excited when you talk to him. That's for certain. Jordan, you mentioned a few of the things you did, and if I went through all the stuff both of you guys have done with IU Sports Media, we'd be here for an hour. But just to touch on a few of the things, I know, Jordan, you've been a very prominent, as you mentioned, BTNSU producer and also doing play-by-play. Tamar, you've also done a lot of broadcasting with BTNSU as well as being on the Hoosier Network. As well. And Jordan, I know you've been very involved with IUS TV as a reporter and a producer as well. So all those things, and I obviously I left out a bunch of stuff, as I said. What's maybe one of your most proud accomplishments with IU Sports Media? We'll start with you, Jordan.
Well, I will say a couple things. I actually got to work on a project with Tamar back in a couple of years ago. It's Tamar and Sam Niederman.
Love this correlation between both.
Yeah. And
stole it from me. That was my answer.
Oh crap. But it was a great time, and we did what was called the Hoosier Hysteria Tip-Off Show. We got to use the Cuban Center, and this is back to when Hoosier Hysteria. We were so pumped under the Archie Miller campaign, but we know what happened there. But it was awesome to do that and to be at the Cuban Center and to use the green screen facilities. That was the first time that I've been in that area. And obviously with BTN broadcast this year, a lot of it was moved to the Cuban Center. So I know a lot of students have gotten to experience what it's like there. But that was awesome. I mean, we had the augmented reality graphics that we used, and it's certainly a great show. And it went on Facebook Live, and that was great that IU Athletics, we got to partner with them. In addition to, I think it was Avid was the company that kind of helped put it together. Yep. So that was really awesome. And that was about a week long, roughly, of days work. And yeah, that was great. So I'd say that was a great time. And I'd say probably I got to work with Jacob Vinson. I guess was it the fall of last year? It was the first season tip-off game for Indiana basketball last year. Before this last season, so I guess 2 seasons ago now. And that was really awesome to be courtside and get to work on a men's basketball game, which obviously is supposed to be the pinnacle of athletics here when you come that in Little Five, pretty much. So that was awesome. So those are my two.
And there's so much, like you said, Griffin, but going back to the Hoosier Hysteria Tip-Off Show, just to state how incredible it was. I think I was called on a Thursday, I remember, and Galen called me up saying, "So you ready for a challenge? Are you free?" And we were paired up with Jordan and I and Sam Niederman, and then the crew at the Cuban Center and Avid. And we were tasked, we had to write, edit, block an entire script worth of a tip-off show, and we could make it completely our own. And then from there, I actually also was the sideline reporter for BTN Student U for Hoosier Hysteria. So being someone who wanted to be a Hoosier their whole life, that was totally a dream for me. I got to interview some of my favorite Hoosiers, one of them being Calbert Cheney. That is all time on my top list of one thing that I'm so proud of that I got to do. But then I was able to do so many different things within the sports broadcasting realm to see what I wanted to do. So I got to visit, I think, Jordan, you did this too, an ESPN production truck. I'm getting to see the ins and outs of what it looks like on both sides. I also was able to make my own podcast through the Hoosier Network called Let's Get Real, and I focused on women in sports. And so I've done it all from sideline reporting to beat reporting to podcasting, just exploring every single aspect of journalism that I've really found a love for. And I really got to be able to hone in on those specific things. But yeah, I mean, from reporting on Hoosier Hysteria to sideline reporting men's soccer games, these were the moments that I just look back on. And I think to myself, pinch me, how was I really able to do this? And everything was made possible by the sports media program. And I could not be more grateful.
Certainly a glowing review. If there's a student out here watching, and maybe, I know May 1st is coming up. They're not sure what school to attend. You listen to Tamar. Maybe that helps a little bit. But next question for you guys. You guys mentioned your greatest accomplishments. Now, I bet over 4 years also have a lot of great memories, a lot of great stories of specific experiences. Wondering if maybe we'll start with you, Tamar. You could share a story or a memory that stands out for you with your experience with IU Sports Media.
Oh, that is tough. One story that I can pick out. So I think one of the most prominent stories that I have, there's a twist to it, is I was just starting out. And like I said, I dipped my toes in all different sorts of water to see what I wanted to do. And one thing was I was able to help with the production side of a softball game. And, I got up, I think it was at like 6 a.m. I had to report there, or like 7 a.m, and it was freezing. And I was totally not wearing the right attire. I was wearing jeans, but they cut off at my ankles, and my ankles were frozen by the end. But I was there all day in the truck, going through all the motions of what it takes to actually produce a broadcast. I think that was one thing that, I look back on and I think of as being, I'm super grateful for, because I want to be able to know every single aspect of what it takes to be in this industry. And, it's not glamorous. And you'll soon learn that if you want to get into sports media. You have to go through so much to be able to get stories. And that too, it's a lot of me being able to reach out to people and network with people and just kind of cold call to see, hey, would you want to be interviewed? Can I talk to you about your story? Let me learn from you, other people. It's not the, glamorous job that everyone makes it out to be. It is hard work. And just being able to be in an environment where I was able to see all the different aspects and really appreciate everything was something that I really have taken away from, that I love, because, producing that softball game, while it's not the choice that I decided to go with, I have such a deep level of respect for it, and I enjoyed it. I didn't know what I would enjoy, but I just said yes. And that's getting into advice, which I'll save for later. But the yes word, that is super important, to be able to say yes. And I did, to that opportunity, and I took away a lot from it.
How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, so I'm going to go in a different direction. So I'm going to go last year. It was March 11th. And if I say that day, you guys probably know what happened around then, because that's when everything went crazy. I was working a baseball game broadcast. The IU baseball was playing Cincinnati. And I remember getting there, and that was the time. I mean, nothing was shut down yet, but we're getting to the point like, okay, like stuff is like, what's going on here? And it was kind of like, is this game going to be played? They were playing Cincinnati, and game went off before, and I was talking to Scott, the baseball SID, and asking around. I'm like, have you guys heard anything? Like, is the season, like, is this on? Like, what, anything from the NCAA? And nothing. No, they're like, no announcement was made. But I do wonder if they knew at the time or not, because the very next day, everything was shut down. And I remember when the Ivy League athletics came out and they shut down everything first, and people were like, whoa, is this a little preemptive? And then everything started to follow suit. So that was pretty crazy. Not knowing if the game would be played, not knowing if there would be a tomorrow, as far as the season. And sure enough, there wasn't. And that was the end of that. And, I almost took, 1 year later to really get back to the swing of things with all the spring sports that we've seen. I mean, aside from football, then basketball a little later, and maybe I think swim and dive. I think most things have been in the spring. Correct me if I'm wrong, Griffin, but I believe, it's been a hectic and busy spring for sure, which is awesome for us as, people who cover the teams, but it's certainly something we've never seen. And who knows what will happen. I mean, like soccer, I know they're trying to go to the full schedule. So maybe this is the trial run, and we'll see if that'll continue on in the future. But certainly a busy time here in Bloomington right now.
Yeah, and certainly that last March for all of us in college or not in college, we'll remember that. And a lot of that for us was intertwined with what we were doing in sports media. Want to talk a little bit more about this year. I've had some guests on the last couple of weeks, kind of just recapping the year in IU sports. It's been such a memorable year in IU sports for a lot of different reasons. One question I've been asking, what was the greatest or most memorable moment of the year in IU sports? Kept on getting the same answer, Michael Penix's dive to hit the pylon and win the game against Penn State. But there are a lot of other exciting things that happened if you're an IU fan this year. And I know you guys have covered a lot of different sports, watched a lot of different sports this IU year. Outside of that Penix dive, what would you say is the most memorable, impactful, or exciting moment of the year in IU athletics? I'm putting you guys on the spot.
Want me to take
here.
that? Or
Totally have
Tamar?
it. I have my answer.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'm thinking here. I would say, man, that even though they didn't win, that Ohio State game was so exciting. It was so big for the program because it showed they can compete with the big dogs. And this was the breakthrough season for Indiana football. And Penn State, as you said, I mean, they go for two. Tom Allen after, I was going for two. I knew when we went down because I didn't want to give Penn State the ball again. It was just kind of the momentum of the game. And then Michigan, they kicked their butts there. That was exciting. Finally kind of getting over the hump against Michigan and then coming so close against Ohio State, as I said. And I believe that'll be at home next season. And I think they'll have a great chance to possibly win that game. It could be Ohio State's greatest of the season. And then Wisconsin really playing a complete game defensively. Yeah, I know it's not a specific memory, but the Ohio State game was so exciting. I remember, that was the big noon kickoff. All the eyes were kind of on it, and that was really exciting. I guess maybe the only other thing is women's basketball's run to the Elite Eight. That was awesome, beating NC State, the 1 seed. Sorry if I took yours again tomorrow, but yeah, I would say those are probably the big two highlights for me this season.
Yeah, I try to give you an answer that it wasn't football, and you still went with football, but I certainly understand that. How about you, Tamar?
Right, but it was good you transitioned into basketball because you didn't steal it. Yes, I've covered women's basketball since my freshman year. That was the first beat that I actually was able to cover with IUS TV and then continued it with Hoosier Network. But holy crap, they were incredible. I loved watching this entire season. The women making a run, getting to see them also taking on Bendu Yaney's Arizona team was amazing to just see how much they've grown and how much I'm so excited for next year. That's going to be incredible. But what I was going to say was it was fun searching for a coach for the men's basketball program. Covering a coach's search was something that I don't know if I really realized that I would be able to do. And it was fun, I think I tweeted out during the Oral Roberts game to try and guess to see hey, is Oral Roberts going to upset while we get someone that no one is expecting? But I do think that having Coach Woodson be the Hoosier to take over this program in our tenure, I think that it's going to be very fun to see. And that was just really fun to be able to create packages on being able to see what everyone's take was. And then of course the final decision, how it was Mike Woodson that they came down to, but I'm excited about what he's going to do. And so that was super exciting. And that was a fun month and couple weeks to just be able to cover.
Not to pour it on Archie, but you guys' college tenure did actually last longer than Archie Miller actually lasted in Bloomington, which I thought was a little bit amusing. But I want to transition to the next part of our podcast. And one thing I love bringing you guys on for is you guys have so much advice and you're so wise in 4 years of both about sports media and in life. And lucky to have these conversations in the past with you guys. Specifically with younger IU sports media students or people just coming into sports media even next year, what advice would you give them for having success and reaching the levels that you guys are where you're going to be set up for success as you enter the job field?
I said it before, say yes. I think what has been most impactful for me is that I said yes to many opportunities and every opportunity that was presented to me because I wanted to be in the grind. It's hard work and you have to know that going in. You have to be willing to really buckle down and learn what you need to know to be able to advance. And you need to know sports. You need to know all the ins and outs. You need to know the production side, the on-cam side. So what it's really about is saying yes to those opportunities, no matter if it's what you want to be doing after you graduate. You have no idea. So take this time at IU that you have, these 4 years that you have to be able to take advantage of every single opportunity that is presented to you, because at the end of the day, that's going to be how you grow and really find what you love. And really, at the start of my freshman year, I didn't know what was going to be the thing for me. And I worked at it, and hey, I found my passion and love, and it is sports media. So that's my big piece of advice always, is to say yes to those opportunities you're given.
Certainly a good piece
Tamar,
of advice. How about you, for you, Jordan?
Tamar, I think you should speak at graduation. You'd be good. That would be good advice. I like that. Yeah, but I'm gonna say this. So I'm gonna live by my motto. So my thing is, when I'm doing, I don't know, production or doing something on a game or podcast, I always say, never be afraid to try new things and try things out, because I think college is the place to try things and see what works, what doesn't work. And, the worst that can happen is, someone will tell you, hey, just don't do that again. And you're like, okay. But at least you try it, and some things land and some things don't. But that's, I think college is the place to kind of experiment and try things. And I think that could be said with anything. Like if you're a beat reporter, covering soccer, or if you're a writer, covering wrestling or whatever, and you want to try a story out, or you want to maybe try a stand-up you've been thinking about, that, this is the place to kind of try things. And who knows? I mean, you might find something that you really like, and maybe would want to use later on in a career. And I don't know. I mean, that's what I've kind of told as I'm going through the application process and the job search. That's what I was kind of telling people, is I'm not afraid to try new things. I like change and doing different things on a daily basis. And that's kind of the great part about going into sports media, is that every day is going to be a different day. And, I'm excited for that.
Definitely great pieces of advice by both of you. One thing that I found, especially for younger students, is that they struggle to get involved, or they don't know how to get involved and how to get started. And once they do, they start to get that valuable experience, as both of you guys touched on. What is your advice for people as they try to get started, especially with the challenges, obviously, right now of still that sports media is not the same as it looked like when you two guys, started in college?
Well, first of all, you're not an example of that, Griffin, because when you got started,
I would say.
Sorry, Jordan.
Yeah, I think Jordan, you froze a little bit, so we're go ahead, Tamar. We'll get Jordan back in a minute.
Yes, we'll get Jordan back on. But I was just going to say, Griffin, you are that is an exception to you, because as soon as you got to IU, you were off and running, and you found ways to be successful. So kudos to you for being able to do that. Had to give you that shout out. But I think what's really important, like Jordan and I did, we sought out people that we saw were in the program already. Galen, he's our first point of contact, but at the same time, he's really grown the people that are in the sports media program, along with other professors as well, that, going to students who are those leaders, and going to someone like Connor Hines, Griffin Gonzalez, Jordan Gould, Griffin Epps, like everyone that has been through the program that has some advice, I'd say go to those people and ask them what to do, how to help grow them. But I think the main thing is just dipping your toes, like I said, in many different waters and testing things out. So it's not being afraid to go into an IUS TV call out meeting and say, hey, I want to be on camera. I love sports. This is what I got. Here's maybe a tape of me doing something from high school, or here's a tape of what I can do. And I say tape, but I mean, it's all on social media now. So you can just show them your social media platforms and say, this is what I really want to do. Get into podcasting, try and make your own YouTube page. That's something that we learn in our classes too, to give us experience and on our own, because virtually we've had to do so much, and that is not reliant on the studio at all. So get involved in the Hoosier Network, talk to Griffin Gonzalez and look at their website and see what you can do to produce content. So I think it's about you yourself talking to prospective IU students and sports media students, go out there, talk to people, because we are friendly. We want to help you. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to be the key to success.
Absolutely. And we had a little connection issues for a second with you, Jordan. I think you also started answering the question. Now go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize with my internet. It's going in and out. So if it goes out again, I'm sorry. But I don't know. It's part of that craziness of, I guess, living the farthest away from the router in my apartment. But it happens all year. But I would say my first piece of advice is know Griffin Epstein right here, because he'll be here next year. And you're going to be doing some great things. What, leading WIUX? Is that right? Next year?
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So get to know him, get to know the people involved and the leaders. And then I would say the second one, though, is the class thing. I mean, really take the right classes. I mean, that's where you're going to be working on a lot of content and learning a lot. I look at this year especially, I mean, Tamar and we took 353 together, J353 Advanced Broadcast News, and now we're in the NewsNet class together this semester, J385. And that's been wonderful. I've been able to do so much content, whether it's packages or VO, script writing, and anchoring as well, sports anchoring, in the newscast or doing anchoring news, whatever it might be. There's plenty of opportunities there. In addition, because I know a lot of people come in and they want to take sportscasting right away, and I think that's maybe a common misconception is it takes a while to get into that class. Maybe it's credit wise, or a lot of people don't get to take it till they're maybe junior year typically. So I will say, when you get into those classes, whether it be maybe if you're interested in writing or podcasting or TV, to take advantage of those classes, because that's where you can grow your content and get you something for a reel or whatever you want to do. So those classes are great.
Certainly. And if you're me, you just get lucky and happen to take a random elective and get that sit next to Jordan Gould for an entire semester in American political controversy. So I'm always grateful that random thing happened. So it was a lot of fun to sit next to you, Jordan, for that,
yeah.
for that class.
That was great.
We are a little.
What happens, so.
We are a little short on time, so want to get through this question really quickly. But I know both of you guys have held a bunch of internships in your time, and I know, Tamar, you're currently this semester interning with Wish, and Jordan, I know you've had some high-level internships the last couple summers. Wonder just quickly, what's your advice on getting an internship? What should people look for when they start that search, and why do you feel like it's beneficial?
Jordan, you want to take this one first because I cut you off last time?
Sure. Yeah. Hopefully my internet's working right now, so I'll go. Yeah. So I would say the first one is use the connections here at IU. My first internship, I interned with a station in Louisville, Kentucky, WDRB, and that internship came, or at least started my interest. It was Laura Overton came in and spoke in one of our classes, and she works for the Colts now. And I found out that she had interned at WDRB herself, when early on in her career. And I'm like, oh, I'm from Louisville. That would be awesome. And one thing led to the next from there, and that led me to that internship. But also, the other internship I had in the Northwoods League last summer, that was on a job posting, from Galen Clavio. And I kind of took that and looked on Teamworks, looked on some of these sites for internships, jobs, etc. And that's where I kind of found that one. So just kind of always keep your eyes open. But I don't know. I think that there's this kind of misconception. You go in and maybe there's a quota in someone's head, like, oh, I got to get 2 internships, or I have to get this internship. But I don't know. I'd say that if you do that to yourself, maybe you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself that maybe you just don't need to do. Like, just trust yourself. I mean, if you're working hard, if you're putting a lot of work, things will work out. And you're not going to get everything, but you just take whatever opportunities you get, and you can make the most of them. And that's what I would say with that.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate enough, like you said, Griffin, thanks for sharing that I was working at Wish TV in Indianapolis this semester, commuting an hour each way, 3 days a week, which was definitely something that I had to get used to, but it was one of the most incredible experiences because I actually was able to learn what it's like to be in a newsroom, and I got hands-on experience. So I think ways to get those kind of opportunities, like everything else, it's about networking, connecting with people, talking to people about their experiences. And once people understand how committed you are and how willing you are to really to grind, and put all of your effort into something, then that's where you're going to find the opportunities. So yes, there are internship postings, and there are ways online through Teamwork and on STAA that there's job postings and internship postings that you can look to. And then also in Indianapolis, that's right in our backyard. And that is why I really wanted to do the Wish TV internship, because I knew that I wanted to do it during the semester. Crazy enough, I don't know how I haven't mentioned this yet, but the entire NCAA tournament was in Indianapolis while I was there interning. And that was one of the best experiences I've had in my 4 years. And IU helped me get that. So other IU students had made a good name for themselves in the program. And then that helped me be able to show that I've also done the work and put in the time to get to that place too. So just keep up your connections and be kind to everyone, want and be willing to learn from everyone. And that's really where you'll find the internships, and you'll get one. So don't worry about that.
All right. Last big question for you guys. You guys are graduating in 2 weeks. Don't want to get into the specifics on if you have a job or not, or what the job search is looking like. But want to know, if you could have any job, any sports media job in your future, what would be your dream job?
Wow, putting us on the spot there. Dream job. I definitely am looking a little more short term in that I want to go into local sports reporting. And that hopefully in the near future, I can announce that might be in my future. And I, that's definitely something that I have found an interest in, but also I love field reporting and sideline reporting. I think one of my favorite things is being able to get those hard interviews and get those stories out of people, and also, get the post-game reaction when you have someone that wins the Super Bowl, to be able to get their reaction firsthand. That's long-term, way down the line, something that I have always dreamed of doing. But at the same point in time, I just want to be in the sports field at any capacity, and I want to be able to tell good stories. And whether that's on a local or network level, to me right now, I'm focusing on the short term and securing that job, and going from there.
Yeah, well, my first dream job is being a full-time guest on the Unpaid Interns podcast. But aside from that, hitting that one. Aside from
That's
that,
an honor,
I would
Jordan.
say,
Wow. Never heard anyone say that.
Yeah. But aside from that one, I will say I'd like to be, I think, long-term down the road, a live sports producer. I think that would be really cool. I'd like, because it combines, I like being the creative mind behind making a broadcast happen, and, to work alongside broadcasters. Not that I love broadcasting and being on air. My only thing is that everyone wants to be on air, and that's okay. And I get that. But, there's a lot less jobs. I guess it's highly more competitive, I should say, to be there. And it's maybe a more challenging road to climb. And producers are in high demand, as I've kind of learned through this process, and from some of my mentors. So, this is, I would say that's kind of the path for me, I'm hoping. And we'll see. But I'd love to do something in sports production. Maybe it's work for CBS would be awesome, or Fox and BTN, as we kind of have that perk being an IU grad, or soon to be IU grad. So I would say that's kind of my dream job at the moment.
Both would certainly be a lot of fun. All right, to wrap things up, we're gonna have a little fun. We're gonna do a little rapid fire. I'm gonna throw some quick questions at you. You guys can give me some brief responses, and that'll be how we'll wrap up the podcast here. So we'll go first question for you guys. Who is your favorite player that you covered at IU? Start with Jordan.
Favorite player? It's tough. Tamar, do you have one? Let me think. I know it's
Allie
rapid fire, so I gotta be
Tapper
quick.
or Brenna Wise, one of those women's basketball players. I love them. They're fabulous.
Hmm. I would say Grant Richardson. He's an awesome guy. He's fun to watch play. But yeah, I'd go with him. Maybe Ty Freifogel or Wap Fillyer's always a character too. Wap's great. The
True.
Zooms are always entertaining.
All right, next question for you guys. I've had fun asking this one. There's always a lot of interesting classes at IU outside of sports media and outside of the media school. Well, what's either the most interesting or your favorite non-media class that you took at your time at IU?
Well, right now I'm in an intro to fiction course on ghost stories. So take that as you will. A little tough for me, if I'm going to be honest, but that's an interesting one.
Absolutely.
I'm taking golf this semester. Actually, honestly, two of my favorite classes. One, I'm taking golf right now, 8-week class. That's a good time. It's go to Cascade, shoot some balls. And then I'd say I'm taking an American film culture class. So I'm watching a bunch of science fiction films, which is cool. Because I decided last semester, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm running out of time. Like, if I want to take some fun, the College of Arts and Sciences, because I needed like certain credits in the College of Arts and Sciences that weren't media school. So I had to go digging, and I found some that I thought were interesting. So I'd say those have been fun. It's been a good semester.
Sounds like some fun. How about your favorite building on campus, either for the aesthetic or to spend time in studying?
Franklin Hall. How can you not say the beautiful, beautiful media school? I'm not biased. I'm obsessed. I've been to many. Letty, close second, but Franklin Hall's beautiful.
Yeah, the media school, Franklin Hall Commons, is a great answer. I mean, that's funny. I was just walking around campus last night, kind of hitting a lot of places. Walked by Forest. I mean, the Media LLC, man, that was where it all started for me. So I think that'll forever have some value there, and I'm really happy and grateful for the friends I've made and kind of the journey. It's kind of the start of the journey for me. I also went from the A Tower the first semester to the B Tower because they were doing a whole renovation thing. It was crazy. I can't believe it, but that would
remember
be
hearing about that. That's a good story to have for certain. All right, next question for you guys. Outside of campus, what's your favorite spot in B-Town, whether a park, a restaurant, a store, gathering spot?
I love Griffey. I definitely, when I need to clear my head and remove myself from campus, I go down to Griffey Lake and drive around or do that little hike around just to kind of escape and be in the beautiful nature.
I would go with I discovered it this year. Well, kind of both of these. One, the Beeline Trail. I love the Beeline Trail. I like going for running or when I go on a run. There's some nice like desolate, isolated areas, which is cool. And then there's also some like really nice areas, like pretty areas with the bridge and Switchyard Park. And then I would also say like Morton Street itself. I really like Morton Street. I discovered like if I could rank streets in Bloomington, it'd definitely be up there. It's just a cool street. There's a lot going on. It's modern. It's cool. And takes you kind of right to the square. And I kind of live right off of it. So I'd say those two things I've really enjoyed this year.
All right, last question for you guys. You're about to graduate and become full-fledged adults. What is the thing you're most excited to do now that you will not be a college student?
This is the most fun time of our entire lives, it feels like. I'm excited. I would say I'm excited to travel, but I know that a job that I have soon is not going to allow me to be able to travel, because it is the grind still. But I think I'm excited about being able to see my family a little more, especially with COVID. I wasn't able to see them as much living in St. Louis. So that'll be definitely a perk.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I'd say I think college there's a level of independence, but I think it is different, and there's something to be said about going off on your own. I just think it is different. Like college is a bubble. I've always kind of said it's like a fantasy land kind of thing. But then going out in the real world, I mean, it's going to be different. And I don't know. For me, last summer that was kind of a first taste of that, kind of like a trial of what's to come. And so it'll be a lot of learning, but growing and kind of being a young adult in the in the media industry, it'll kind of be a new thing. So I'd say that I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, maybe a little anxious, but I think that's normal. And it's kind of that's a state of mind here. And now I'm just trying to do everything these last week and a half. Like, just have fun, just enjoy it while it lasts, soak up the campus. So, here we are.
Absolutely. Well, guys, really appreciate your time today. I know the impact that you've had on so many students and people at the IU Media School, and it's certainly on me. And great to talk to you guys one last time. And of course, best of luck as you guys go out into the industry. We all know that you guys are going to have a ton of success there.
Thank you, Griffin, for having us on. It's such an honor, and I'm so excited to see what you do and all the people that come after us in the sports media program. I cherish all the memories.
Yeah, I will say this, from the time I was a freshman to a senior, the program has just gotten better and bigger, and it's just grown, and it's so exciting to see. And I have to give credit to the leadership and the people there, and the opportunities. I mean, this is the place to be, guys, and the sports media program on the rise for sure, and it's a big one.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. That will do it for today's episode of the Unpaid Interns podcast. We will have one final episode on Friday. That will be at 12:30 Eastern time on the IU Sports Media YouTube page. Connor Hines and Austin Render will be joining me then for our final Senior Spotlight episode of the year. If you've missed any of our past podcasts, as always, you can check them out on the IU Sports Media YouTube or Twitter page, or if you prefer to listen, you can listen to them on Spreaker or wherever you get your podcasts. For Tamar Sher and Jordan Gould, I've been Griffin Epstein. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. So long, everyone.